Welcome back. The discussion continues. This is what some of you are saying online. Brainstormer says, whatever agenda you tell Kenyans, this is on Twitter, #Daybreak, the biggest problem is gaining while losing. It's like holding water in a sieve. Okay, I don't quite get that. Engineer Baraza says, making promises unfulfilled, it doesn't matter anymore. What voters should put in mind is, what have politicians done during their first seasons in leadership? We need to keep track of their records and good deeds to society. This is Engineer Baraza Meshak writing in from Jogo Road. A very interesting story also on page 6 of the Standard. Tragedy of state agencies at cross purposes as poll date draws near. As the August 9th date draws near, state agencies meant to facilitate a credible process are working or seemingly working at cross purposes. Few are willing to take up responsibilities bestowed upon them. Plenty of blame game. Stakeholders such as civil society concerned about an apparent lack of synergy from entities involved in the electoral process, from the IEBC to the EACC and many others. Coming back to you, Honorable Shabal, to hear from you on election preparedness. Where are we? Even as you respond to some of the other sentiments that have been made by other panelists here.
Let's not get confused. Let's focus on the issue. And the issue is this country needs to change. The willingness to change must be there. The capacity to change must be there. And the people to drive that change must be there. Now, in Azimio, we have a very clear focus on how this country needs to go. On the economic side, there are 3 major sectors that we must address. The industries at the top, which create thousands of jobs. The Juakali sector, which employs 60% of our people, and then the bottom of the pyramid, where people are starving today. You are sitting in your house today watching TV because you have a TV, but there are millions out there looking for food. So when the Right Honorable Raila Odinga starts talking about literally an emerging welfare state, it's because the people at the ground need that desperately right now. You know, hungry men cannot make informed decisions. A person whose kid isn't even going to school has a serious problem. Don't talk to him about sophisticated economic issues. Get his kid to school, okay? If a parent has children who are sick and cannot afford to go to hospitals, you need that Baba care. So this is not a political issue. There is no need for us here to start talking about lofty economic targets when the realities on the ground have not been addressed. But neither can we start talking about wheelbarrows when our industries are collapsing. Numbers don't lie. Our manufacturing has collapsed from 11% to 7.5% as a contribution to GDP. Our agriculture is in problems. Everything is in problems in this country. And you cannot turn around now and walk away from the fact that you are part and parcel of this government that promised us millions of jobs and didn't deliver, that promised laptops and now are switching to wheelbarrows. Okay, that talked about dealing with corruption and has not delivered. But look at on the Azimio side. It is the track record that matters. And I talked about track record when we came here. When you're employed, and Raila Amolo Odinga and William Ruto are looking for a job, they are now going to Kenyans looking for a job. Everybody must bring his CV of what they delivered as a capacity and as an indicator of their capacity to deliver. Now, you cannot come here and tell us that, oh, I was in government and I was walking all over the country getting opinions. We already know, Kenyans already know what our problems are. We need solutions. We don't need a lot of propaganda. Unfortunately, my brother here seems to start believing his propaganda. People need delivery. And people need the people who can deliver. Now, let's talk about corruption as an example. Who has Raila appointed as a person to deal with corruption in the next government? Martha Wangari Karua. There is nobody in this country and to date who has resigned from government on principle other than Martha Karua. Appointed by Kibaki, she stood up and said, enough is enough. I'm not party to what's going on in these corruption stories, and I cannot accept it. Tell me who else has done that. So Raila is showing his willingness to deal with it firmly and effectively. My friend, it is not promises alone, it is the capacity and the willingness to make it happen. And my brother, you cannot turn around. Wait. You cannot turn around now after being in the government for the last 10 years and suddenly walk away and say, yes, we built 10,000 kilometers of roads, like we didn't deliver the jobs, we didn't deliver the food security, the economic situation of the Kenyan household has gone to the dogs, our manufacturing has disappeared, our agriculture is in deep problems. But don't worry, God willing, next year, everything will be better. It doesn't work that way. Promises must be followed by a willingness to make that change and the capacity to make it change and the track record to show that you can do it. And unfortunately...
That's what you feel you're not seeing on the other side.
I'm not seeing. And for heaven's sake, let us not lose sight of one very important thing. There is a thing called collective responsibility. If you're part of that government, you are responsible and you are liable morally for the successes and failures of that government.
Okay.
So let's not walk away from where we failed. And let's not now turn around and say, don't worry, we changed our minds. You know, instead of giving you laptops, we'll give you wheelbarrows and everything will be all right. It will not be.
So Sion, jump in.
Kenyans are hungry today. I'm repeating again to you, Kenyans sitting there in your house, watching TV. It's because you have a TV. But there are millions of kids going to school today who have not had breakfast. This country needs to change. And the man who has changed this country successfully and consistently over the years, Raila Amolo Odinga.
So Sion, jump in.
Yeah, while I cannot go that route of trying to glorify people, I think where we are as a country is a point to think seriously. And even if we go back to history, you look at the operations of Jubilee in terms of governance, it has been extremely dysfunctional at some point. You see, if we are talking of an administration that has not even held cabinet for 2 years, for almost 2 years, where would you expect probably a deputy president to prosecute his issues? But I don't think that is what we should get down to and look into. We are going into an election, and we are looking at the future of the country, and we are reconfiguring this country. We all agree. What is key? The level of poverty is so high. Kenyans are suffering. That is a common fact that we all agree.
Correct.
We all agree the economy has collapsed. We've taken all the resources to the capital investment areas. We are putting all the money on railways, on roads. And if you look at those investments seriously, they're businesses and pocket money of individuals. You cannot tax poor Kenyans and load resources to programs that cannot translate into meaningful survival in the economy. And that is why when you look at the bottom up, we are not talking about, oh, we want to deal with, to restart the factories and later on we look at the people at the bottom. It is now that we have to look at the people at the bottom. They must be number one, people. And when you look at this model, which has been placed before Kenyans, and Kenya is not the first to do this. Other economies have done it. You've seen the US, the Democrats, they're always very persistent and consistent with middle-out, bottom-up economic. You look at other jurisdictions. It's about social equality. And this is what we have failed to do over the years. And when I look at your outfit, it's more interested in protecting the elitist business top strata group while cheating the people at the bottom. It's now time we come out and tell the people at the bottom, we cannot promise you jobs in 2027 or in future. It is now. And when you look at the agenda that we have at the moment within Kenya Kwanza, if we are talking about creating jobs, and not tomorrow, today, by injecting 100 billion shillings to the production sector, where we are talking about manufacturing, it will come in. We are talking about agro-processing, value addition, that we have to know what every county and what every region can engage in. and it's about defining resources. The other side has not defined the amount of resources that really will be directed to those particular production areas. So we are talking about get the taxes and the resources of the country and be directed to the production sector. Of course, there are three key aspects.
I think here, wait.
And I need to allow Bashir's voice also to be heard. Kenyans have had these promises before. What is it about your political side that
the promises before
that delivery will be a priority?
The promises before were general pronouncements. But this is now specific. It's targeted. We are even talking about how much money, 100 billion in every year, to focus on the production sector and inject money to agro-processing, value addition, manufacturing, and housing. That is going to create jobs. And any economist, anybody will tell you it will work. So when you put money and direct the programs, it will work. Number two, we are talking about protecting these micro, small, medium enterprises, the mama mbogas, and all other small businesses by injecting 50 billion. Specific. It is defined. It's very specific. Theirs is not. It's general. It's promissory. That it will remain a mirage for the. It will remain a mirage that you cannot hold anybody to account. So make a promise that you can hold anybody to account. So injecting 50 billion shillings in our economy annually to the micro, small, medium enterprises, it's going to protect those small businesses, the Chwakalis and the rest. But when you talk of generalities, without being specific, this time round we must be specific. Number three, when you talk of refarming agriculture and putting resources within the agricultural sector, reducing the cost of fertilizers to 2,500, and also investing in the quality of inputs. And we've gone down to discuss and map out and document what every region will require. This is a more targeted program. That is real, that is achievable, that is attainable, and will have to be done. When you talk about education, education, for example,
I wanted to come back
it has to be done.
To dig deep
we must do things differently, so that we are not generally saying, oh, so-and-so, this one has a good history, this one has a bad history. All these are Kenyans. They presented themselves, and we are in a serious discourse. What is it that you want to do for Kenyans on day one, if we make you the president? Their side is the biggest continuity of the conservatives, the business individuals that we have in this country who have controlled the taxes and resources of this country and denied the majority of the poor and even killed businesses of the poor who are angling and gravitating around the other arrangement. That one I will never buy. I will protect a situation where the economy will be balanced. Protect all groups, protect the investments, but take care of the people at the bottom. The people who are suffering at the bottom are the poor Kenyans who are the majority, around 60%, living below poverty line. And this is what this economy is all about. They must be saved today, not tomorrow.
Bashir, how do Kenyans then read, and Honorable Shabal and Honorable Sosion have prosecuted very well what their sides stand for? How do Kenyans fact-check these statements and ensure that at the end of the day, what they're left thinking about is the reality that will sort of help them move forward?
You see, Waiga, what we can still hear are the same old promises. You know, the same old rhetorics. The same promises, how to revamp our economy, how to improve the production sector, how do we work on our manufacturing industries and all that. But I think what the ordinary Kenyan, again, today looking at the two will ask himself is, we know we're a country that is judged by history, and the way you perform in an office ought to be looked at how you held that office, how you performed at the time. You know, what Honorable Sosion is suggesting is, let us close our eyes. Let us not ask questions with respect to how the Deputy President has performed when he was in office. He's just telling us, let us see what we can do, what he can do once we give him an opportunity as an office holder at the highest office in our country. But I think this is the problem that we need to first address as Kenyans. Let us audit each and every leader. Let us look at the former Prime Minister. When he was the Prime Minister, what he has done for our country. Let us look at his history. Let us look at his running mate. Let us see who the Honorable Martha Karua is. Has she been a reformist? Has she been a good public interest litigant as a lawyer? Her record as a magistrate, what she has done for this country and where she stands. Let us look at the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and see who he is as an individual and what we expect of him. Let us look at, within the same lens, let us look at the Deputy President. But now, my only problem is one. We are a country that ordinarily has a certain budget every year. But the budgetary estimate that we have are never attained. You know, when you look at the KRA reports, we always suffer a shortfall. We are never assured of how the economy of our country shall be run with respect to the amount of monies that we expect from our people. That is what is making us go for more and more borrowings. But now, more and more promises with respect to hundreds of billions are still being made to us without telling us how that money shall be sourced for. Unfortunately, I think that's a very key question that they're trying to skip. Tell us, you want to do this plan for us? You want to employ 1.2 million youths every year? Fantastic. Tell us where you will get the money from. Fine. When you were holding office, tell us what you have done and how you have performed within that time. I think, Wahiga, one of the keen observations that I've made with President Uhuru Kenyatta, I think the way he has performed this year and last year, if only he could work within the same tempo, we could have been a very developed country. For the last year and this year alone, I do not know what has been happening with the Jubilee administration pre-2021 and thereabout. It is since the beginning of 2021 to date that the Jubilee administration has tried, and we can see it's still trying to improve our infrastructure, our economies, because with respect to the challenges that we are having, with respect to unemployment, this has been a historical issue. It has not started with the Jubilee regime as such. It has been an issue that has been going on within each and every successive regimes. The only issue is nothing has been done on the same. When you come to the Deputy President, he's a very eloquent candidate. There's a way he can stand before Kenyans and tell them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and he can convince them. But he's the same candidate who sat before us as the youth and promised us a lot in 2013. He did the same in 2017. The former Prime Minister was one time a very good opposition leader. He cast good opposition, he had good checks on the government of the day. But I think for the last 2 years, we haven't seen him doing the same. So these are the key questions we need to pose to them, to address to us how they have performed when they were holding offices, also when he held office as a Prime Minister. But now, let us look at who we are having at the moment as candidates. Now we have the Honorable Martha Karua being a running mate to the Honorable Raila Odinga, who is regarded as a reformist. Fantastic. We have the Deputy President on the other part, who I think will have served as a Deputy President for 10 years. But it is our economy that is ailing at the moment. Look at the two. You will realize that the Honorable Raila Odinga is highly associated with a very clean and neat background. That is quite commendable, but he needs to tell us how he will change the economies of scale, how he will improve the lives and living conditions of the people of Kenya. It is not about promising them 6,000 monthly stipend, sort of. Tell us how you are going to recover the monies that you are telling us that you will recover out of corruption and pilferages. Tell us every year, by figures, how much we have lost as a country and how we'll be able to recoup that. Tell us how you are going to improve the education of the youth, because there was the inter-university report, inter-university East Africa Council report that was done. It was realized that 46.3% of employers do not prefer Kenyan graduates. That is a cause of worry. And when you look at Article 55, it expects the state to train the youth, give them good training and good knowledge. We can't see all that. I think, Wahiga, if it was up to me as a Kenyan, I would have given us a third alternative. Because these two that we're having, one is blaming the other one and the other one is blaming this one. So I think we need a clean person who can lead this country.
If it have been cleared by IEBC.
But you know, with a lot of respect to Professor Wajakoya, when Kenyans are hungry, we may not talk about weed as such.
Shaval, come in. I think that's a good point for you to jump in.
You know, I'm an economist, and I know how economies work. And I've spent years studying how economies operate, okay? And you must have a clear vision and a capacity to deliver. That's the most important thing. And the only way I can judge your capacity is to look at your history. There's no other measurement that I can use to judge your capacity. It's not your education, it's not your references, it's your history. Now, this country needs to reform. In 1992, when Raila was fighting for multi-party democracy, our friend, the Deputy President, was part of the establishment, firmly committed to maintaining Nyayo in power through YK 92. When this country was trying to change the constitution, he was firmly against it. When we came to BBI trying to make some changes, he has consistently been opposing changes in this country. But if you look at Raila, and I'm going back to history because I'm talking about future performance, okay? This country is a much better country because of the democracies that we have. This country is a much better country because of the evolution that we have. And who's the architect of this? The planning for this country going forward was based on Vision 2030. Nobody disagrees with Vision 2030. It is the implementation of Vision 2030, and that is part of Kibaki / Raila Odinga legacy. Okay. As we speak today, right now today, William Ruto is a member of Jubilee Party. William Ruto is Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. You cannot disown the failures of this institution, this government, and say that we have nothing to do with it. That is completely dishonest. And my brother Sosion to come and say that Azimio is the party of the rich and their party represents the bottom of the pyramid. I mean, that is disingenuous, completely disingenuous. I don't think there's anybody in this country who really understands that Mwananchi down there better than Raila Amolo Odinga. And I've walked this walk with him. I've been with him on the campaign trail. The issues that you are articulating today, education, health, all this, everybody, we know about them. It's nothing new. It's not like where people are coming up with new manifestos and they've suddenly discovered that we have a problem in education. We know we have a problem in education. The question facing Kenyans today is who can bring the changes that are required, who has the capacity, who has the willingness, and who has the right people to make it happen. Don't compare, you can't compare Martha Karua with the deputy president that they have. I'm sorry, there is no comparison. Look at the track record. And don't tell me track records don't matter. Track record is everything. Winston Churchill once said, the farther back you look, the farther forward you can see. Now look back and try and see where we're going.
So Sion says we're heading to a good place.
Unfortunately, with regret, my friend William Ruto has not delivered in this government, and there is no way we can walk away from that.
Well,
okay. Every time that this country has tried to change, starting from 1992, he was firmly in Nyayo's camp. Okay.
Okay.
When the first constitution came, he was firmly against it.
Yes.
When devolution came, he was firmly against it.
And he's not here. So
wait. No. Don't say he's not here.
I will begin to limit you on this.
It is a historical record. I'm not talking about somebody's personal life. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the public record, the historical record. Mm-hmm. We are not talking about personalities. We're not talking about whether he's a nice guy or a bad guy. No, we're talking about the historical track record that is now in the public eye that Kenyans have to judge. Because it is only based on their performance that we can project whether they have the capacity to deliver the future. And I'm saying, I'm sorry. He doesn't have the capacity because history says he doesn't.
So, Sion.
I think my brother is going too far in terms of... there has to be some decorum in the issue. We are talking about issues, and we're talking about elections of 2022. But turning in this show to unfairly attacking other personalities is not right. I don't think we come to this show to attack people. We come to discuss issues, and we've got to be honest.
We are discussing issues. We are discussing a track record.
Let him finish.
No.
You had your time.
We are discussing a track record. We're not discussing whether he's a good guy or a bad guy or a handsome guy or not. We're discussing a historical record.
I want to tell Shabil,
it's not personal. It is issues.
Go back to elections of 2007.
Yes, we can.
Who stood right by Raila Amolo Odinga so furiously in the stolen elections? It was William Ruto.
Correct.
Who stood by him.
Correct.
So seriously, so furious.
Correct.
And in fact, it's William Ruto who almost made Raila Odinga the president of the republic. And I don't want to discuss Raila Odinga here. He is a great citizen of this country, and I have not come here to discuss Raila Odinga or to discuss persons. I've come here, we discuss issues. Kenya Kwanza, that is why it is called Kenya Kwanza. It is not William Ruto. It is not Musalia Mudavadi. It is not Moses Wetangula. We must change this narrative so that Kenyans are the topmost priorities. The priorities, the people of Kenya. And we've talked about this class of politics that you want to bring, that we get down and glorify individuals, is what has ruined this country. We must change the narrative and shift from glorifying individuals and some cultic group at the corner who have held the economy hostage for 50 years, that Kenyans are still suffering, and get out of it and talk about the people. It is the people who matter. That is why we say Kenya Kwanza. And we are talking about bottom up. Then let us get people from the bottom. And this bottom up is not a creation of Kenya. It's a revolutionary agenda that has been undertaken all over the world. And that is why I believe in it. And we must rope in everybody, including even those who are in Azimio, because we need a country. On 10th of August, all the 50 million Kenyans must be together and working together as a country. To me, I want us to transform and sanitize this politics and even conversations. Let us have great respect for Raila Amolo Odinga as a presidential candidate. Let us have equally the greatest respect for William Ruto as a presidential candidate for Kenya Kwanza. And now let us discuss the future of our people. Let us not cheat ourselves. You are an economist. And we cannot have this trickle-down economy that is so conservative and that preserves the interest of those at the top who even want to capture and control power, control policies. And that is the shift we are talking about. And that is why we've talked, when we talk of youth unemployment, we are taking resources directly to create those jobs. And we've given the figure.
So, don't neglect the panelists on this other side as well.
So I think I think we should shift from discussing personality
I need to know where
and get down now.
Please
get down to the issue.
I'll come back to you.
And that is why when you look at our agenda, it is so attractive. Look at right across the country, the people at the bottom, they are buying in, they are understanding, they are participating. They are saying for the first time in a presidential elections, we are being consulted, we are speaking our issues. And now, when we talk of commitment to implement Kenya Kwanza, anything that is adopted, and we've told the presidential candidate, don't just go talk, can you sign a commitment within charters? And that is being done. Today, we are signing a charter for education with a lot of components and commitments, just like the way we did with Kibaki.
So it's today?
Yes,
the charter is today. One question. CBC, stay or go?
I cannot unveil the contents of the charter right now. You wait
your
for
personal
the meeting.
opinion.
You wait for the meeting.
Yeah.
As for me, CBC, the way it was introduced in this country, it was introduced to destroy the existence of public schools. Public schools will never implement. And for me, I will
that is a heavy statement to make.
It's the heaviest, it's a resource-intensive curriculum, and we did not prepare. It was imposed. The public schools will die. It is going to open a window for privatization. So I think whoever forced it on this country was very deliberate to kill public schools. We have seen Professor Magoha flip-flopping, and now he's talking about urging private schools to open up space to accommodate junior secondary schools. It's not right, and we cannot shift. We cannot shift. Our Constitution, Article 53, is clear that education shall be a right to every child. And being a right to every child, it must be provided by the state.
Let me come back to you for a bit more of that.
As a practitioner in the sector, and as a person who has taken a position on this, I would like to see a presidential candidate who will come back and correct the mess in the education sector.
Okay.
And take the entire process of education reforms and reviews through public participation, not even stakeholders, public education is a public good. We must get down, even if it means doing civic education with the people.
For this one.
Because education is key.
Thank you, Honorable.
And we must discuss properly. I think when you look at Kenya Kwanza, it is the people of Kenya.
Okay.
It is not William Ruto.
Thank you.
William Ruto is just a captain.
Thank you, Honorable Sossion. Bashir, go ahead.
I think, Wahiga, let me just even help Mr. Sossion understand that Azimio la Umoja equally means unity. It's towards the unifying the people of Kenya. Just like Kenya.
And by the way, I'm not discussing Azimio here.
No.
I've not come to do that. To discuss even the presidential candidate. I don't do that.
Okay.
You know, you have cut me short. I was coming to something.
No, I was just prompting you. I was just prompting
in trying to explain what Azimio la Umoja means, one of the things that I'm happy about is that both coalitions have good names that work towards unifying the people of our country. And I think the other thing is each and every Kenyan has the right to cajole, criticize, make fun of any of the presidential candidates. This is our time as voters. We have the breath, we can discuss them at length, Mr. Sossion. It is, I think, the right of each and every Kenyan to look at these leaders, look at them, make the rightful decisions. And I think both of you are good minds with respect to the respective coalitions. It will not be in doubt. You know, one of the things I keep asking myself is when you look at Chapter 11 of the Constitution on devolved system of governance, we have devolution. One of the things that I'm yet to appreciate and understand is that how the trickle-down economy has failed. You know, how much has it failed, to what extent? When can we say that it is no longer about devolution, but it's about the bottom-up economic model? For me, I already have a problem with that. You know, one of the
Kwanza voting Joe Biden, U.S. president, who apparently also alluded to the same.
You see, Wahiga, when you look
buy into that.
You see, Wahiga, when you look at both and look at devolution, ask yourself, even the way they elaborate, which one is easy to implement? It is the trickle-down economy. It is about the devolved system of governance. It is about an entire chapter dedicated to that system of governance. But I think now, on the other part, I think in a span of 10 years, a constitution that has given us, for the first time, good roads in various far-off places in our country is what we are now trying to already criticize. But I think, for me, in the event they get an office, I will not be expecting so much as to how they're going to implement that. I do not think any person who has failed to implement the trickle-down economy will find it easy to implement the bottom-up economic model with respect to the kind of systems that we have in our country, with respect to the good institutions that we have, from the Auditor General to the courts, to all those systems. Those are the good institutions that are already helping you implement the trickle-down economy that is also referred to as the devolved system of governance. But I think, again, Wahiga, the other thing that we expect as voters to see as we go towards the election is we have two leading presidential contenders. Both of them should commit to having a peaceful election. I think that is a very critical component that we're having. We have witnessed recently various violences around campaign rallies. I think that is sending a very bad signal. When you find such very brilliant minds engaging in such a panel, it makes more sense. You know, it calms down the hearts of the people of Kenya that we can have a difference of ideas without going at each other. I think both coalitions ought to sign charter or ought to commit in front of Kenyans that, come what may, once we have the election results, none of us shall go or shall instigate any violence. And I think, Wahiga, as a practitioner in the legal system, I am glad to report that the only arm of the government that today is prepared for the general election is the judiciary. To be honest, I have a lot of problems with other arms of government with respect to how prepared they are for the electoral process. Okay. It is only the judiciary that has so far given the Kenyans the confidence with respect to how they are going to handle the election petitions and electoral disputes that we are going to appreciate. I think going forward, we equally need the IEBC to play its part, to see how it can fit into play, how it can assure the people of Kenya that a lot can be done. And before I sign off, I also had an issue with the 12th Parliament. This 12th Parliament has failed the people of Kenya. It is before the eyes of our members of Parliament that we have... Sossion
sits there.
Yes. And he also sits in the Committee on Education.
Yes.
It is the same Parliament that had given the green light with respect to the CBC system that we're having today. It is the same Parliament that has amended our laws with respect to the increased taxes the people of Kenya are having. It is the same Parliament that has never ever summoned the National Employment Authority that is encapsulated under the National Employment Act of 2016 to ask them why the youth of our country have not been factored in with respect to employment. Kenya stands at around 47%, yet Uganda stands at 18% with respect to unemployment. Yet we have a bigger economy with respect to Uganda and the likes. In terms of population, Ethiopia has more population, but we are doing better economically. Yet we are suffering with more and more unemployment. I think that parliament equally has to take its lion's share of the blame with respect to how it has steered the affairs of our country. And again, these are the same members who are now today telling us this could not be achieved under this system. Give us an opportunity. That is why we are saying, give us answers. Respond to the questions, then let's see how we can chat forward.
Thank you. We have about 5 minutes to the end of this conversation. Do we have our feedback? To SMS line 22422, hashtag Daybreak. After we have 5 tweets, this is what Kenyans are saying this morning. All right, Birika Joffrey, you say, I don't think the number of times one visits a given region can translate to votes. Okay, that's your view. Saul Twiga, guys, stop telling us about Mama Mboga narratives when we are suffering economically despite being in government. There is no day politicians will live the same life with poor people like us. Jakadawa, can these parties, be it Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, tell us where they'll get the money to do what they promise? Let them not talk of the cliche of 2 billion stolen every day. Engineer Lazaro, you said top presidential contenders were in the government before. Please don't expect too much. Some big promises are just campaign gimmicks. Eriko Ochieng, we've been listening to these promises the whole year, yet the price of commodities keeps going up. Ask them who right now has the power to reduce the price of unga from 250 to 100 Kenya shillings. Okay, and 1 or 2 SMSs. Let me see here. The question of who should bring reforms in the country is not dependent upon personalities. The Constitution is instrumental in itself. Mwalimu Patrick Butalanyi from Malava. And another one here. Let me see if there's any other feedback here. I'll check one more before we wrap up. I'm going to give my panelists a minute each to make their closing statement. You can respond to 1 or 2 of the feedback or just make your closing message to Kenyans. Honorable Shaba, let me start with you.
Let's be very clear about one thing. This election is an interview. The Kenyan people are interviewing who they want to put as their next president and the next leadership. It's not about personalities, but you cannot discuss issues without bringing in the people behind those issues. And today, it's a question of performance. And we have to look at the performance of 2 individuals. One is Raila Amolo Odinga. And the only track record that we can judge him on is when he was Prime Minister with Mwai Kibaki. And that period is probably the best economic period in the history of Kenya.
Okay.
So you must judge the track record and include the person in it. The same thing applies to the Deputy President. We must judge him on the basis of the performance of his government when he was in power. And I think it is a lame excuse to say that I wasn't in that government. This story or this philosophy that we're talking about of bottoms up or the welfare state that we're talking about is not a new thing. I mean, it goes back all the way to the first country to become independent, India. In 1948, they were debating this whole thing, with Gandhi calling for bottom-up development at the village level, and Nehru calling for manufacturing. But the perfect blend is to focus on both. And we are focused sharply on both. On the people down here, we recognize that food prices are going up. We recognize the challenges in health. We recognize the challenges in education, the challenges in water, the challenges in security. And there are visible programs on how we're going to address this. But these programs have to be paid for by the large taxpayers, the manufacturers, the large companies. So you cannot just pretend that I care so much about this and forget that there is a bill to be paid, and that's why we focus on both sides. As an economy, you cannot just look at one side. You have to look at the whole spectrum of things. And the most important thing is...
And finally...
The most important thing for all Kenyans, what we want is a peaceful election, and then whoever becomes president, that becomes our president. And if William Ruto wins this election, which I doubt he'll win, but if he wins this election, by the way, he's my friend Sosion, okay? We will call him Your Excellency, President, and we will respect him and we will work with him.
Okay.
In every capacity. The most important thing that Kenyans want, they want a peaceful election.
Okay.
And we are committed to it.
Okay. Sossion, brief, 1 minute, please.
No doubt, elections will be very peaceful. Kenyans have demonstrated that, and we believe it is going to be extremely peaceful. This country has experienced wastage of resources through corruption and tax evasion. And once all that is sealed, there will be resources to direct at the poor Kenyans and relieve them from the suffering that they've been subjected to over the years. The question of unemployment as a country and an economy that is promising, Kenya as a country should not be reeling from unemployment that we are having at the moment. And this is an indicator that the leadership in this country has failed. And that is why this election should be about Kenyans, should be about Kenyans Kwanzaa. And therefore, in this election, we are looking at institutionalizing governance and strengthening institutions going into a new dispensation after election. That one, even the judiciary, you've asked about Parliament and others. They are under state capture. State capture is a terrible thing. And that is why we must free our institutions from state capture. Number one, ensure the judiciary is left to be more and more independent, and it is resourced and is given enough money to function. Parliament should also be left to be independent. Currently, as it is, because of my experience in the National Assembly, it is under the capture of the presidency and the president. Nothing happens without direct or indirect dictatorship and influence by the president. And we must free Parliament so that it becomes free. And then finally, finally, the economic revolution that we are talking about have been practiced all over the world. The Democrats, through the Democratic Party, have pushed it all the time in the US successfully. The British, through the Labour Party, have done it over the years. In the UK, in Germany, Social Democrats have done it. And the list, we can go on and on and on. And I've had experience of interacting with those institutions. And finally, I think the key thing is to ensure that there is social and economic equality. A Wanjiku in the village should be able to go to a supermarket and buy the commodities that Mr. Shabal can go and buy in a supermarket in Mombasa. That's what we are talking about.
Thank you.
Let us emerge out of this election when we have a roadmap to ensure that it's social and economic equality for the poor Kenyans. And that's what we stand for.
Thank you.
Wahiga, the message is loud that as a country, we are looking towards a peaceful election. And all of us are committed to having a peaceful election. But I think my only issue, I have an issue with the referee, that being the IEBC. The IEBC has started flip-flopping between digital register and manual register. I think it is very important for the IEBC to look at what the Court of Appeal has said in 2017. If you need a complementary mechanism, do so. If you think you can assure 100%, because yesterday, ODM, the Azimio la Umoja side had requested for assurance, a guarantee, whether they can be given 100% guarantee with respect to the IEBC ensuring that the digital systems can work 100%, so be it. So as a country, I think the IEBC is really important to put its house in order. We do not want to lose faith in the public institutions that we have. The IEBC is one of the key things that can assure us that we shall have a free, fair and credible general election that shall win the faith of the people. Let us look at the examples of India. India has a very good faith in its electoral system. That is what we are looking at. It's for IEBC to restore its faith in the people. It is not about IEBC to, at this stage, start flip-flopping between a manual register and a digital one. Let the IEBC guide us. Let it tell us that it can assure us 100% guarantee that its systems shall work all over the country, and that it shall ensure that there shall be no problems, especially looking at the recommendations that were given by the Supreme Court with respect to the 2017 presidential election.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to my panelists. What a discussion we've had. The State of the Nation this morning on this, with 46 days to go to the August 9th polls on this 23rd day of June 2022. Special thanks to Suleiman Bashir, an advocate of the High Court. Asante Sana. We've had Honorable Wilson Sossion, a nominated MP, and Honorable Suleiman Shabal, who is an advisor to the Raila Odinga presidential campaign as well. To each of you, gentlemen, thank you for your time today. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in, sent in an SMS. 22422 has been that number. And the hashtag has been Daybreak. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, have you been following on the Digital and Technology Week happening in Nairobi? So much happening there. We'll be discussing and talking with some of the organizers on the other side about some of the trends there and the opportunities and jobs as well in that particular sector. It's an interview you don't want to miss coming up on the other side. We'll be right back.